Okay. I can go? I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:04. Gina?
Kim Leonard,
Yes.
Colleen Klimzak,
Yes.
Gina Cannon, here. Catherine Fontaine,
Yes.
Lydia Parker is absent today.
Claudia will not be joining us this evening.
Poor Claudia.
Yes.
Got a hole in her house.
She's got a big hole in her ceiling.
So do I.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
The snow is not
Dan
being our
Malloy,
friend.
Here.
Kevin O'Connor.
Here.
All right, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a whole agenda tonight, so thank you so much for weathering the storm and coming out here tonight. We really do appreciate that. At this time, the next thing on our agenda is to approve it as outlined. I would like to request that under action items that we move back to after recess to close session. And that would go, so that would be after recess to close session, we would come to return to open session, and then we would vote on that. If that's okay.
Which one?
On
E.
action item C,
Last item.
8C, I'm sorry, it's the last item under approved Central Middle School principal.
8 or 9.
Okay, Colleen has made the motion,
Oh, but right here.
Second.
and Kevin has seconded.
Yes.
So Colleen first. and-
Klimzak,
Yes.
Kevin O'Connor,
Yes.
Kim Leonard,
Yes.
Catherine Fontaine.
Yes.
Dan Malloy,
Yes.
Claudia Parker absent, and Gina Cannon, yes.
All right, thank you. The motion for the, to approve the agenda has been approved. We're going to begin with just thanking again everyone for coming out tonight. We have an exciting agenda. We are going to start with the staff reports with Dr. Longo and Dr. Webb. And we also have Dr. Woodland joining us tonight. So thank you for coming out and enjoying this nice cold night. Okay, so Dr. Longo and Webb.
So our first item is the EP Credit Union Scholarship, and we want to congratulate School District 124 music teacher Maritza Rivera on winning a $1,000 educational grant from the credit union. She's going to use the grant to ensure that every one of her 3rd to 5th grade students will have access to physical mini keyboard as opposed to learning through a piano keyboard app. This will allow the students to grasp a real feel of finger placement, key attack, and hand positioning. Studies have shown that children who learn piano during their elementary school years have greater benefits in terms of development and intelligence.
Yes, I read articles saying that the. She hear this?
She's here.
Yes.
Yes.
Was she here?
Cool. No, she's not.
Oh, she's not here. Okay. Okay, I didn't know, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
and then under someone you should know, we're gonna first recognize Maria Albaran, who's our paraprofessional and district interpreter. Alex?
All right.
So I'm so proud to share the story of Maria. I said I'd say her last name right. It's Maria Albaran. So on top of being a part-time para, she also serves as our district translator here. And she's been amazing to work with. She's my partner. Anytime we send anything out, any communication that goes out, Maria translates it. She's done everything from the good and the bad, the celebrations to, losing members of our Evergreen family. She's always there, willing to work, drop what she's doing in the middle of the night or whenever it may be. Just the other day, I was texting with her. We needed to translate something. She told me she had pulled over in her car to the side of the road and texted to me in order for us to get it out. So yeah, it really is amazing. And she pushes us as a district to make sure everything is translated to Spanish. Maybe it's frustrating at times, but I know it makes us better. She'll call us out if something's not translated properly. She'll make sure we're in line and we've got everything ready for our families. And she just has become the voice for our Hispanic families here too. They go to her. She's their go-to person when they have a question or don't know what's going on. So Maria is definitely someone you should know.
She's been around so long. I know real quick in first and second
Hi,
grade.
Alex, you're gonna give it to her, so give somebody your camera. I can't do it.
Don't give it to Kim.
Anybody
Anybody else?
Go up here. There you go.
Give me angry, give me angry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a very exciting part of our agenda that we love to celebrate and just recognize our staff and members of our community for the work that's done to make sure that we are operating efficiently and effectively. Kathy Costello will present Elizabeth Forch. Paraprofessional at Southeast. Almost got it right.
I originally reached out to Dr. Bridges Webb and Dr. Longo as I was sitting in class on one of our remote learning days. It was lunchtime, and I was watching Elizabeth eat a salad while on a Zoom meeting with her one-on-one student. This student had expressed an interest in getting a head start on his homework, so Elizabeth kindly offered to meet with him on their lunch break to assist. That's just one of the many ways I've seen Elizabeth go above and beyond in her position as paraprofessional. She's dropped off supplies at students' houses when their grown-ups couldn't make it into school. She stayed after school to post helpful hint sheets to our Google Classroom that she created on her own to help students with things she noticed them struggling with in a class. She's designed activities to help students be more successful on their spelling tests. Just today even, she brought in Play-Doh to give to our students so they had something to do during indoor recess. Her help extends beyond the classroom as well. She, along with Cindy Meyer, transformed our library into the bougie Southeast Bistro to make lunchtime more fun for our younger students. She, along with our other amazing paraprofessionals, serves lunch and cleans tables for our now 3 lunch periods every day, and she does so with a smile. 2 weeks ago, she created a new lunch count sheet to make it more user-friendly for both teachers and lunch staff. She did this on her own because she saw a need. If she's ever had a bad day, I haven't seen it. I could go on, but I'll end by simply saying that all of us in room 111 at Southeast School are blessed to have Elizabeth as part of our class, and I feel D124 is equally blessed to have her working in our district.
Someone you should know.
Oh, Ms. Costello, no.
Nice.
It's yours.
Where do you want us?
Just go. Great, thank you.
Next, Miss Linda Panico would like
No, Tim,
to.
Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tim Kostecki would like to talk about Peg Hammer, who's been a real savior for our district during this whole COVID-19, so. Tim?
Well, I get to stand up here again. Wrong picture. Am I doing?
There we go.
Bingo. The another one of my great employees. She's the latest addition I have on my staff. She's been with me for about 2 years. Peg is fit in very well and has been instrumental in developing our ASOP system, which is an automated attendance system for our staff, so they can record electronically calling in sick or use of vacation time or personal time. And she was an integral part of getting that installed, and it went rather smoothly. It also helps us with getting substitutes because it's all like a bulletin board where you can pick and choose open slots, and that's where they really helped. And another kind of an old school way of, I probably am stereotyping, but old school work ethic, where even on days where she's taking a day off or she's sick day or a personal day, she still gets up in the morning and deals with all the attendance and gets the attendance report out. She doesn't want to put the work back on another staff member within my school. So I really appreciate it. A terrific addition and someone you should know.
All right.
She actually took a vacation day and came in and fed our families over Christmas.
And when we offered her, why, don't take the day, she said, no, I volunteer. When I volunteer, I do it on my own. And she would not, so she took a vacation day. Truly someone you should know. Thank you. Linda Panico will present Lisa Gallick, Office Operations Coordinator.
The foundation would like to recognize Lisa Gallick as someone you should know. Lisa works in the district office, and this year, due to COVID-19, has pitched in by doing many extra duties for the district. Please know the district office is a central place. All donations are accepted for the District 124 Foundation. All of our donations go right to the district office where Lisa accepts them on our behalf. She organizes them and keeps everything safe. Lisa has amazingly kept track of all the donations of money, clothing, toys, and food seamlessly while still doing her job at the district office. Lisa is always willing to help us out with any hesitation. Over the holidays, Lisa truly gave her heart and soul into helping our district families. When it became apparent there were families in our district, our families in need in our district, she did not hesitate in securing donations. When our school, community, and village heard there were families in need, a call was sent out, and within hours and days, Lisa was being flooded with donations. Throughout the whole process, she made it seem as if she did this every day. Lisa truly kept everything organized, from gifts, clothing, food. She was organizing, updating lists of what was donated. She worked long after work hours during the donation drive that had been started. She was staying at night to sort food and gifts. Moreover, she was taking numerous emails and phone calls just from me alone while doing her job in the district. Lisa has jumped in wherever help has been needed, whether it's collecting at the district office or going over to Central Middle School to hand out food during Christmas break. I know without Lisa, we would not have been successful of our donation drive. I am enormously proud to have been able to work with her over the last couple months and know moving forward, she is somebody we can count on to help our community and families. Because as we have been saying all year, we are in this together. Thank you, Lisa, for everything you've done for our district and our community.
Awesome, thank you.
We are so grateful. Someone you should know has really turned out great. We have every month I'm like, okay, let's read what's going on. And this is just a terrific way to thank our someone you should knows. Now you get to go home. You're certainly more than welcome though to stay. Either way, we are grateful for each and every one of you. The next is going to be the District 124 Foundation update with Linda Panico.
This one's longer. Good evening, Dr. Longo, Dr. Webb, Board of Education. On behalf of Ken Fryer and Laura Sexton, our co-presidents, I am Linda Panico, the Vice President of the District 124 Foundation. Thank you for letting the foundation say a few words tonight. I would like to first thank the entire district for our successful Be Kind fundraiser. We sold 503 shirts throughout our district, raising $2,500 for the foundation. Throw in a raffle prize and the schools became incredibly competitive on pushing the shirts. Southwest was declared the winner. They sold 167 shirts alone. We were able to honor them last week in an all-school Zoom announcement and had a live raffle drawing. Congrats to the Southwest and all the winners. The foundation would like to announce that on March 1st, the grant application will be open for our teachers to apply for the grants in their classrooms. Last year, we were able to give out $8,500 in grants due to such a successful year in fundraising. This year is different due to COVID. The foundation is looking forward to helping teachers this year, but recognize the grants amounts may look different. Teachers will have from March 1st till March 15th to turn in their applications. We would like to take the time to thank all of our district families, the two superintendents, staff, and administration for all the support you have given the foundation this year. You have come out and supported all of our fundraisers so we can continue to give out grants to our teachers. The Board of Education asked our community to pay it forward, and through the many donations of clothing, food, and money, our community has helped our foundation help our families through the Christmas season and for the remainder of our school year. We would also like to thank the following for all they have done in helping make this such a successful year. Alex Meister for truly helping the foundation with our fundraising, answering numerous emails from me alone and getting the messages out, putting it out in the newsletter, and many other behind scenes that you do to help. Mr. Sheldon for taking my numerous phone calls. It's a habit, but we're gonna get better. Phone calls and emails, I'm quite sure he and Alex both cringe when they see my name in their email box or I'm on hold waiting to talk. I don't know if I should thank Mr. Sheldon or apologize. It's always a 50-50 chance. Is it about the foundation or my kids? Mr. Liska, Mrs. Prado, Mrs. Berry, Dr. Bannock, thank you for supporting the foundation in each one of your schools. Your positive influence has helped us surpass our goal supporting our D124 family. To all the secretaries who help keep these fundraisers in order, when all the money comes in, all these envelopes, all the forms, they distribute our signs, shirts, and at the last minute, always being asked to make copies of a flyer to be sent home that day with the students because the deadline is so close. And to the teachers who help push announcements with the fundraisers, and they take time every morning getting all this money together for us. Without you and many other people in our district, this year would not be successful as it was during the pandemic. And finally, to our booster clubs, they have truly risen to task this year with helping support our foundation. When the foundation was looking for donations during the holidays, our booster clubs truly stood up and helped, no questions asked. When a message was sent that food donations were needed, it did not matter what school needed help. Everyone helped. They have helped tremendously in pushing all of our fundraising efforts as well. Each of the booster clubs have gone above and beyond to support our school and community, and I am grateful for all their help. The entire district has truly taken the motto to heart. We are in this together. Thank you for all your support.
All right, thank you. Our foundation has just really gone above and
Awesome.
beyond.
Yes,
It's
they
now reached out through our families, our students. It started out, it's had so many different faces, and I know Mrs. Klimzak can attest to it. It's grown in leaps and bounds over the years. It's something to be very proud of with our district, and the booster clubs have certainly circled the foundation and really supported them and our families. We are just,
Adapting to needs is
Yes.
what I'm just always amazed by,
Yes.
just what the needs are for our students and for our community.
yeah,
They've absolutely stepped up. So
so
thank you.
amazing.
Shirts are great.
I got my
Yeah.
shirt.
Oh, yeah,
I
the
got a
shirts are
shirt.
cute.
I got a shirt. I didn't post a
Look at all
picture, but I
Laura.
got my shirt.
You should have all worn them.
I
too.
know.
Yes.
Maybe next.
All right, well, thank you. And now we are going to move on with Dr. Longo and Dr. Webb on the 5 essential update.
Yes, we received from February 3rd through April 2nd, District 124 parents and staff members, as well as students in grades 4 through 8, will have an opportunity to participate in the 9th annual statewide Illinois 5 Essential Survey. The 5 essentials are effective leaders, collaborative teachers, involved families, supportive environments, and ambitious instruction. Now, in order to receive the results, we must have 50% of staff and students complete the survey, and 20% of families must complete the survey. The identity and survey responses, is confidential, and participation helps our district understand the conditions at our schools and will guide improvement. So we are hoping to not only meet the 50, but exceed 50% for students and staff, and more than 20% of our parents.
So I know in the past, our staff has taken time out of their classroom time to have the kids fill out the surveys. Are we planning to still do that?
Yeah.
Oh, great. So that will help definitely boost over our
Yes.
50%. That's great.
And whose teachers are in first place right now? Not that. there's
Oh.
competition.
Which
We're a competitive
classrooms?
group, aren't we? Goodness.
Who has the most filled out?
I think it might be Northeast.
Northeast. Oh, there we go.
So
Northeast.
we have until April 2nd.
Curious, what's the
Yeah,
secret,
not done
Mrs.
it.
Berry?
Carries at 100%.
Bribes, hey, that's not bad.
There we
Positive
go.
reinforcement.
Excellent. All right. So when does the 5 essential survey close? Do you know?
April 2nd.
April 2nd. Okay, so we have a few more weeks to get those done. All right, excellent. All right, and the data reports.
So this year, we're going to have each of the principals present the data from their building.
Okay,
We're looking at not only achievement, but growth. Particularly interesting for us to really take a look at this by building, given there was a pandemic. And that we were one of the only districts in South Cook County that went back in session. Currently have close to 80% of our kids in session, 76 to 80% of our
wow,
kids in
that's
session.
great.
So we wanted to see what kind of growth was happening as a result of synchronous and in-person instruction. Each of the buildings' principals went out to their teachers, working closely with their teachers, develop goals for improvement in the academic areas. In addition, last week, we worked with the principals on alignment with SAT. And so that is not going to be presented tonight because that's something that principals, again, are going to work with their staff to see how on target we are for SAT. But previously, Ms. Prado did the presentation on data for the board. We thought that it would be important for each building and get a lot of teacher input on it. And I think it was really a valuable experience for our teachers and principals to be working together on the data reports. So why don't we begin with Central Middle School?
We're actually looking at, because we're going by this, so northeast, northwest.
Oh, you want to do Northwest? Okay, sorry. Well, let's do Dr. Bannock. Dr. Bannock.
Alphabetical, we're doing.
All right. I just wanted to start off and say thank you to our staff. It's been a really challenging year, but even amidst these challenges, you'll see some bright spots with this data. So it's truly a testament to the great staff that we have and all the hard work they've done this year. So just thank you to all of them. And just to make sure you understand what you're seeing, so we did two different reports. The first is a longitudinal report. We just wanted to see the effects of the pandemic and how it might have affected student achievement. So this, to read this report, you read it across. So for grade one, for the grade one line, excuse me, you read across, so where it says winter 2019-20, that's how this year's first graders did last year in 2019-20. So you read that across. And so there's two different numbers on there. It's the achievement numbers, which is how they did compared nationally to other students. And then there's also the SGP, which is the student growth percentile. And that compares how students did compared to other students who started in the same spot on the assessment. And so ideally, well, STAR says that anything above 35 is adequate growth. The district has a goal of 50 or more for the SGP. So for Northwest in particular, we had a good job in terms of it seems like more in the upper grades is where we saw kind of the regression for some of the numbers in terms of how the pandemic might have affected the grade levels. So on the next slide then, this is reading. So this just compares how students did within this school year. So starting in the fall, same thing, looking at achievement and growth. And for the achievement now, this is for the percentage of students they project would meet or exceed on the IAR, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, that they would take. That's the standardized test that we normally take in March or April. And so that's predicting, like I said, the percentage that would get meets or exceeds on that assessment. And then the SGP is similar, it's the student growth percentile. So same thing, there's for the most part, some great growth. With our fourth grade, there's just some hiccups with some of the remote testers. So we feel like that's why some of the test scores are a little bit lower. But it's also our great two new teachers are going to be working with our coaches to just make sure they're not missing anything.
Can I just ask you, so when
Sure.
we're looking at kindergarten first, their assessment was like at the 53rd percentile.
Correct.
And then when we came back from Christmas break, winter break, it was at the 68th percentile.
Correct. Well, we took the test in December, but
Oh, was it? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. And then the 58 represents the student growth profile, but is that like what the rest of the country did?
so it's comparing, so it's saying that the students grew better than 58% on average, better than 58% of students who started at similar levels.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
like I said, the district goal is 50. STAR would say anything more than 35 is adequate.
Yeah, I agree. The fourth grade looks like they had a little hiccup, but the rest of these numbers look pretty good. So, yeah.
Thank you. So then math, it's the same thing. So math, it starts in third grade just because second grade is when we start testing, but we wouldn't have numbers for them last year. So that's why we started in third grade, just comparing how the same cohort did last year to this year. Math, we saw a little bit more of a decline due to the pandemic, but hopefully those numbers will be picking back up, as you'll see with the next slide. So same thing, we started a little bit lower, but we're seeing gains for the most part with those numbers moving forward.
Fifth grade really had a big growth.
They did a great job.
I agree, like fourth grade seemed to have tested kind of clearly, kind of across the board. That as well, but yeah, the fifth grade, wow, look at those numbers, those are great.
And then each of the schools developed plans with our building leadership teams and with our staff. So that's on the next slide. And so what we focused on is I did a survey with parents just to see how remote learning was doing. And one of the things they talked about was that remote learners were starting to kind of hit a wall around December, just in terms of not having as many social opportunities. So we're trying to increase that just to get them more interested in schools. So tomorrow night, if you're not busy, Claudio Martinez is doing a cooking night, so you can come and join us. And we tried to find some other opportunities through after-school programs and different things like that to get students active and social with other students and family members. We also developed an after-school support program for our students who need the additional support after school. We're going to continue meeting and analyzing data with our tier 1, 2, and 3 meetings to kind of see how students are doing. Also, it's been a little bit harder for teachers to start groupings and groups this year, just with people on Zoom, people in the classroom. So that's becoming the focus for second semester, is how to further do that with teachers and with classrooms. One of the things we noticed with math, as you saw, it seems like there's some gaps based on how they did last year. So we're implementing daily math spiral review in 2nd through 5th in K through first, they're focusing on addressing number sense within their daily warm-up routines. And then gender-based was very instrumental this year, working with our teachers, just getting them up to, especially our new teachers, getting them up to where they needed to be and working with them to ensure, like I said, we're meeting standards, how to form groups and different things like that within the classroom. So we're going to continue working with the coaching this year as well too. Questions?
How well did your survey turn out for your remote learning parents? Was there a lot of feedback when you surveyed them about what was?
There was a lot of positive response in terms of the staff, and then some of the areas we're just trying to figure out, like I said, how to get remote students more involved in like social activities and possibly some other like specials within the class, the school. That was
Certainly remote
positive.
learners, yeah, I think it's a struggle for them, the kids, to identify it and be able to relate to their kids in the classroom, but with the understanding, I mean, it is difficult, like you said, but that's a great idea, asking the parents how it's going, it sounds like, and surveying them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bannock.
I can commend Dr. Bannock too. He sort of mentored his fellow principals on this and worked through, putting the data together. He did a really great job with that.
Yeah, this is great, thank you. Hello, Mr. Liska.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. So in early January, we had a staff meeting and they passed out the slides that will be up here. And just wanted to put it out there and not really lead the discussion, but get the initial reflections from the teaching staff. And I think the first comments that the staff made were about, what can we do better? How can we better support our kids? They hold themselves to a very high standard. And that is phenomenal. But I had to take a moment and, pause the conversation to recognize the successes in the data. And because in a year that's been difficult and draining for everyone, they have continued to tirelessly do the work of keeping students at the forefront of their conversations and of their daily planning and their assessing and their thought process and their reflection. And I really think that plays itself out in the data. The growth numbers look really strong. The achievement numbers are very similar for some of these longitudinal reports to what they were last year pre-pandemic. So that whole concept of we had been out of school in a traditional learning environment for 8 to 9 months to come back just 3 months after we started school and get back to a relatively similar place. Just can't thank the teachers enough, and they don't hear it enough. The conversations I have with parents on a regular basis about how excited they are to have the opportunities that they do, but that just never gets said enough, and so I wanted to say that publicly, obviously. And so walking through our data and finding those specific targeted areas where we can fine tune and improve has been an emphasis for our staff, and the teachers engage themselves in an activity where they focused on those kids that may not qualify for intervention, but that do need a little bit more support, and they came up with some really creative plans and strategies in their work to how to get those kids the support that they need. And so we see those average achievement percentile ranks in the fall coming in after 6-7 months out of the classroom. We're not where we wanted to be, and the winter benchmark data tells a much different story, similar to the other schools. You really see that those SGP scores above 50 and higher.
80% on the winter for these are great. Oh, I'm already getting ahead of myself. I'm looking at the next one. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
And so, obviously we're always looking for ways to improve. And, some of the things that we're looking at doing, exploring ways that we can provide resources for families to support student learning at home. I think you'll hear it a couple times tonight, but obviously we're partners with our parents and our community. And trying to find ways when that desire is there, to support families at home, to support their students is something that we certainly want to continue to look at, and celebrate the successes. Strong instruction is happening. How do we, leverage this success to support other teachers with the ideas and the resources that have been successful? Teachers don't always get to see in other classrooms, and so how can I, as a leader, give teachers those opportunity to see the really cool things that are going on in the classroom? That's my charge. We're continuing to conduct academic tier meetings to see who those students are who might need some of those additional supports, and then also paying attention to the interventions that we are utilizing to make sure that they're effective in moving those students. I mentioned a little bit earlier the data reports the teachers took and owned and created, targeted action plans to support, specific students in that 25th to 49th percentile. So where they might not qualify for direct intervention, but have some deficits. So they did a really nice job with that. And then just continuing to have conversations with staff about the data to notice some of those 10,000 foot view trends. What's going on in math with this standard, or what's going on in reading in this grade? How can we better, support our teachers to support our kids?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Liska? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I think the action plans are my favorite part.
Yeah.
I love,
Listening
it's
to
just,
the-
it's so empowering to know what we can do to make positive change.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I want to first say thank you to my colleagues, all the elementary school principals and Kathleen Prado, just for being they're incredible mentors to me and answering all my questions. And this is like my first time as a first year principal, and I will say I was super excited to receive the Northeast data, which sounds super nerdy, but this is it. This is my baseline data as a first year principal. So I had some coaching along the way that, not to get hung up on the numbers, not to perseverate, because we know that I am a competitive person as well. So we're going to look at the numbers. Thank you, Dr. Bannock, for explaining, what each of the comparisons look like. So our Northeast team is focusing a lot on student growth this year. It's the focus of all of our PLC meetings, our individual teacher meetings, and we are looking at student growth. We have at one time, more than 50% of our students were remote learning. We had a high percentage of our students from March to May that, that kind of were off the grid, and we were trying to contact them. We also are dealing with some tardy issues and absentee issues as well. So we have a lot of moving parts right now that we're trying to analyze, and with my BLT team, we actually have a meeting tomorrow to kind of address those things, and you'll see later that they're a part of our plan. So although Northeast numbers, if you look, are not, the best, but I still want to say to my staff, and that was the one conversation that we have, we want to look at it. The data is the data. Now, what are we going to do as a new team to move forward and to get our students to grow? So we need to accept this and then write a new action plan. And the other thing is we can go ahead and talk about, and I don't want to say that they're excuses, but we want to acknowledge, the effects of the pandemic, and then, like I said, move forward.
You're right. You had the largest
Yes.
percentage, but I mean, look at your first grade in reading. I'm already on the next page. I always go that next.
No,
page.
that's, yeah, you can go to reading.
I mean.
So one thing I would like to point out, yes, first grade. And I'll talk a little bit about.
Kindergarten's hard. You got kids on remote on kindergarten. That's hard to keep them engaged and get them to move to the next level of
Right.
learning.
So what happened in kindergarten is we had such a high population as remote students.
Right, yes.
And we think that at home, because we weren't really attuned to, just remote teaching and breakout rooms, and, the principals and we talked about this. I think that first fall benchmark, they received a lot of assistance at home, just not knowing,
Yes.
parents
Oh,
just
yeah.
not knowing,
Right.
what they wanted to help their students. So I think that fall number was a little skewed, in that sense. So, we don't even know if that's a
That's what I'm saying,
true
kindergarten,
valid.
that's the first time parents are even logging on, learning how to be teachers to their kids while their teachers are teaching,
Right.
remotely. So, yeah.
Yes, right.
So-
So kindergarten, but first grade made a great, we made a great jump.
Yes.
Second grade was about the same if you looked at. Third grade, they dipped. But then fourth and fifth, they made progress. So, and again, I would like to thank my dedicated staff who, are balancing synchronized teaching and learning every day. And, they're just a great dedicated staff. So that was for reading. And then for math, you'll see, again, the SGP in fourth and fifth grade, 59 and 50 for, this year. Their grade is collectively a grade, that we're looking at. You'll see that they kind of pop up. So working with team, getting some extra support in those classrooms as well to help them move forward. And then next. Math. This, just looking at data, and I always looked at it through a kindergarten teacher lens for so long and a primary teacher. So it was just great experience for me to look at through the principal lens and how to, analyze it and set goals and really dig deeper. We talk about the surface data, and I talked about this before, this is surface data, but what we did is we dug deeper and looked at those focus skills and then created, like I'll talk about in a minute, our action plan to move our students forward. So, Mr. Martinez and I are putting together this Parents as Partners series. I think one of the things that I identified as a missing component is I want to educate my parents a little bit more about what our goals are and what motion we want to move towards. So we're calling it Parents as Partners, and Mr. Martinez and I are both new, so we want to build those relationships with our community and with our Northeast community. So in December, we did a gingerbread making house, something fun and lighthearted. Mr. Martinez is doing, the same cooking class also with the Northeast staff, but then we're going to take it a step further. A STEM night we have on the calendar, and then both a literacy night for K2 and then a literacy night for 3-5. All focusing and honing in on, after analyzing our data, what those focus skills are. I think parent education is key here. And the more that we can educate them and have these conversations about our goals and our plan, just the stronger our school is going to be. We also, teachers have implemented goal setting in their classroom now. We want to put the ownership back on the students and have almost data conversations with them and give them continuous feedback, and which also helps them improve. And like I said, take ownership and know where they want to improve in and how they're going to get there. And then similar to Southwest, we developed an after-school support program. These are the 26th to 49th percentile of the students that are kind of like on that bubble of being in the green. So they're like in the blue, in the blue ribbon. So we want to, we put together, so I have a team of teachers. We just met actually today after school and put together individual plans for each of these students to move them forward using Freckle and using their Renaissance data. We have set up numerous coaching cycles with Jen Gervais, and those continue to be evolving in our school. I created a small group instructional planning template, and we are trying to, one of our goals as a staff is to plan for our small groups with more intention. To actually, we can plan and use our tier 1 curriculum, and it's easy, we can set objectives, but now we want to dive a little bit deeper and actually plan for our small groups. And so my staff has embraced that and doing a great job. And then again, just continue to have those conversations and examine data like PLCs. On every PLC agenda, that's the first thing, discuss, collaborate your grade level data and discuss with your grade level team what you're going to do to move your students forward.
You figured out how to do small group.
So yes, we did.
I want your tricks, yeah.
Yes.
And it's.
I was in a classroom just the other day and they, like 3 of them would bring their little dividers over to the teacher and it was all social distance. I took pictures, I sent them and I was, I think part of it is just, working out of that comfort zone. And once you do it the first time, you're able to do it. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Berry? We are looking forward to some amazing things happening at Northeast, especially as your kids start to return to the class. I'm sure they'll grow even faster and higher. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheldon.
Didn't Carrie do an amazing job?
She did.
for-
She did. Yes.
Fantastic. It was fantastic. I just want to start off and say a big thank you to our teachers, but I think it's fitting that our paraprofessional, Elizabeth Birch, was here and honored because they're a huge part of our success in the classrooms as well, especially given the challenges. I mean, we had to reinvent how we do school, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done and how far we've come, because I just think back to August when it was just like, okay, how are we going to go to the bathroom? How are we going to do lunch? To now we're talking about how are we going to have individualized, educational plans for kids, in small group learning. So, I mean, we've really come a long way. And I want to thank our district administrators and the board, because when we've said that we've needed something, you guys have provided that for us. So thank you very much. So to start taking a look at the data, again, you see the longitudinal comparison and some of the same issues. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said. I'm happy and very proud of the fact that our fall to winter growth this winter, despite some of the issues that Carrie identified with the baseline data or just the nature of remote instruction, as Matt pointed out, 35% is that targeted adequate growth, and we had that or more in every single grade level for our reading. But you can certainly see the difference between what education looked like prior to the pandemic and what we're dealing with now in terms of those challenges that my colleagues have cited with that. You go to the next one, Alex. So, what's that?
The first slide?
This is the same order. I'm especially proud of this slide here. If you take a look at the percentage of kids in the fall who were meeting or exceeding those achievement benchmarks, practically for every grade, we've moved that up. And so those are more kids who are on target despite some of those challenges. And obviously we want all those numbers to be as high as possible, but I'm incredibly proud of all of our teams for working together in spite of some of these challenges, and especially some of our new teachers or teachers who are new to different grade levels. And everybody's just new to teaching in a pandemic. So
Yeah.
Incredibly proud of them.
Kindergarten really did well.
Similarly in math, kind of the same breakdown where you see not as much growth, but very proud of, take a look at fifth grade, who has, the 48 SGP, which is even better than they had in the prior year. And so I think one of the important things to remember with all of these numbers is like, the differences between averages and median and things like that matters. And with that median number, that means half of our kids had an SGP of higher than that, right? And so I don't want that story to get lost in the data either, right? That I don't want the average, if Bill Gates walked in, we'd on average be billionaires right now. And so I want to make sure that we are cognizant of that. Again, looking at the overall growth in that exceeds column from left to right, each grade level growing. And in such a short period of time when we were under such a difficult set of circumstances. Incredibly proud of our teachers, and really want to thank our parents as well, because they provided an enormous amount of support, especially for our at-home learners, and they've had to upend their lives to make sure to support our kids and support our teachers. And it's been, if there's any silver lining to any of this, I think it's brought us all closer together to appreciate who we are as people and educators, whether we work from home or work at school or at the district office. So it's been fantastic that way. Everyone's supposed to go.
I did.
You did.
I did.
Very nice.
I know, right? Super slick. So very similar to some of my colleagues in terms of some of our programs. So our program for after school supports, or PASS as I like to call it, kicked off this week, and very excited to have a number of our teachers and parent professionals as well who are helping to provide students either additional skill practice that's targeted based on teacher recommendations, or even just time on task with homework completion. And that can be a huge support for our families. For that, I do want to give a shout out to Kathleen Kasprowitz is here in the audience, and she's been a huge help in terms of pulling together the logistics of that program. And I really thank her for all the time and effort she's put into that. Very proud of our this idea of moving beyond the whole group. Had very productive conversations with each grade level team. This looks different at each grade level. I hesitated and tried not to use the word small group because that conjures an image of like the 4 kids in front of me at the kidney table, and based on the split between remote and in person, based on the COVID mitigation things we have to take into account, that may not look that way, right? For some of our teachers, it looks like breakout rooms where they move seamlessly back and forth and keep kids engaged that way on differentiated tasks. For some of our teachers, it involves moving themselves around the room as opposed to the kids coming there. And that's been a big shift as well, willing to give up that level of control. And each grade level team is committed to taking that step outside of their comfort zone to find new and creative ways to do that. And I'm incredibly proud of them. To support each other, our Wednesday PLCs have been dominated this year by teacher-led professional development. So we've had presentations on things that teachers need and can use every single day. So for all of our at-home parents, if I say the word clever, they know they're not talking, I'm not talking about, being very creative or trying to think of cool things to say and do, but rather the platform we use to navigate our online experience. And our 4th grade team did an incredible presentation of that to our entire staff that really upped the game. In fact, it was such a well-received PD within our building, they actually presented it at the district PD on January 4th. Our 5th grade team was particularly adept at using Zoom and the breakout room functions and some of those pieces. And so they did a PD on that. 2nd grade on Quizzes, which is an online assessment platform. And so on. And I just really am proud of them for being there for each other and figuring out creative ways to make instruction work and look different. Because I think one of the challenges has been, initially we were thinking, how do we make teaching look like it did before the pandemic, when in reality, it just can't. Like that's just not realistic. And so what does teaching in a pandemic look like has been more of our focus. And along with that is the idea of growing our practice, as other colleagues have mentioned, just whether that's working with administrators, coaches, with one another to get out of the classroom and learn from each other. So incredibly proud of our team. Like I said, I thank them for their hard work. And I want to also give a shout out to Cindy Meyer and Mary Beth Williams, and I'm going to leave other people out because I can't name everybody, but everyone has stepped up. So kindergarten said, we need manipulatives. So we have people who went out and we found the Unifix cubes and we bagged them up so they can have a set here and they can have a set at home. We need flashcards, laminating, cutting them out. Like everybody is kind of all hands on deck to make sure our teachers have what they need, to make sure that every moment of every day, you see a kid standing in line for the bathroom, they're flipping through their flashcards, right? So no lost time.
That's awesome.
No music?
I told Scott, I said, how much money would you give me if I played like a theme song? Because I can't.
No.
There is a fire, right?
There we go. Thank you so much. Yes, this is great. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Sheldon? No, sounds like there's so much great things going on at the buildings. Thank you. Now Central. I think a lot of what my colleagues have said, I mean, I couldn't be more proud of what the teachers have done this year and what they've overcome, because this was like, and especially
a little different. Our teachers travel, so the idea of not being in their classroom with their stuff that's been a big adjustment. Like when I had to tell the science teachers, you can't teach in your room. In fact, you can't even use science materials. Like, we were just having the conversation. So they have really, really turned things around in a way that I'm so proud of. I'm actually now achievement data, no one would say that we're overly proud with the achievement data, but the growth, I'm very proud of the growth considering where we were in the middle of this pandemic, and also, a little bit different at the middle school. The social emotional needs of these kids, I always say as a parent, my proudest moments were getting my kids through middle school because it's like the toughest age for kids. Like everything's changing, their bodies and everything, and emotions and their feelings. So like trying to also deal with all of that and the engagement piece has been a challenge, and the teachers have done an amazing job. So, and I think the data shows that. So for the first one, this is our longitudinal for reading. So if you look at last year's fall to winter, we actually made more growth this fall to winter than we did last year, which I'm so proud of them, because in the middle of a pandemic and having the kids not have been, in the classroom since last March, I was really proud of this. Granted, I mean, those are good numbers. They're decent. I think everyone saw this and said, okay, that's great, but we know we can do better. So that was our reading, looking from winter last year to this year. And then as far as the achievement, same thing, we made gains. I mean, every grade level, made gains in the achievement.
Sixth grade really rocked it this year in the reading.
In the
too,
reading,
like
yeah.
38 to 45 and
Our kids had the numbers.
Yeah, and I think, when I talk about our plan, we'll talk about like
Yeah, I know.
ideally, say that again. I'm sorry.
I was just joking, sorry. I said it's our sixth grade.
it's our sixth grade. Yeah.
Oh, it's the
And the
students for
numbers,
sure.
numbers.
It's the students, yeah.
When
you lose
a sixth grader.
But I mean, ideally, we want those numbers way closer to 80% of our kids
Sure,
meeting that, but they made gains in achievement since fall to winter, so we're proud of that.
I think there is definitely a stronger component of the SEL emotional piece, the older the kids get. The needs of the kindergarten through third grade is so different from the needs of the middle school, so different from the needs of the high school. I think they more align to the older kids, these preteens, and so the fact that these are some really, I mean, hey, it's a gain.
Yeah. And I think too,
celebrate it.
our middle school kids have 5 teachers in a day, so
Right.
there are more.
It's an adjustment.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And the eighth graders, it doesn't look like you said, this is a pandemic year. What they came into at sixth grade does not look like what they ended their eighth grade year. So the fact
Well,
that,
I'll just say from going into the classrooms and watching, I hear her say these teachers moving classrooms are a big deal, but when I saw it, I'm a science person, it's a big deal to
Right.
see these teachers moving, packing they're packing 5 times, 6 times a day. It was a lot to watch, and I could see how
And then a lot of them are on
overwhelming
carts.
that is. They're all,
A lot of them are on carts, and then our elevator broke.
Yep.
So I was like,
Oh.
oh my God, what am I telling these people now?
Oh.
Like, I'll carry your cart up and down the stairs. I don't. But yes, they have made the absolute best out of this situation for
is our
sure.
elevator fixed?
The part is ordered.
Oh, that's
on the
We'll
painful.
discuss that.
Yeah, the part is ordered. Alex, you can go on to math. And then same with math, we made more gains in our math fall to winter this year than we did last year. The math teachers, it's truly amazing to see any of the teachers teach synchronously, but the math teachers and how they like put their teaching on their board and the kids at home, and it's amazing how they keep that rolling like that. But very proud of those gains for math. And then, same thing. I mean, that's not where we want to be, but we're better than we were in the fall, which is a good
They're
thing.
all up. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're going up, they're not going down.
So now if we just do that again, look where we'll be in the spring.
Right.
Yeah.
So then on to our plan. Obviously, we had a lot to deal with culture too, with the kids and with the differences. So what we've done is we put study skills classes during the day. So a lot of the kids, it wasn't even, I can't do, it's, I don't even know how. I don't know how to navigate
remote learning and keeping track of things in Google Classroom, which was a little bit newer to some of our sixth graders with how intensely they use it at the middle school compared to the in fifth grade. So we have study skills classes that the kids go to, and we've chose those kids that would go to that. And we put that as part of their schedule. So it wasn't something, so they gave up an elective and they go to the study skills class. We also have tutoring that happens, and that's during the day, the study skills. We also have tutoring during the day where they're just working on, we have probably half of our kids that really need true tutoring with like skill practice on things, and half that just need, come on, get those assignments in, come on, you got this, you can do it.
Prod them
And it's a lot of
along.
that,
Yeah.
So, and that's made a huge impact for kids. We had a teacher do that with 6th and 7th grade math, and she got everybody like caught up and on track and just feeling better about, it's not so cumbersome, now I can do this. And then after school tutoring for reading and math, we do that 3 days a week, and we had lots of teachers who offered to do that, wanting to really help the students and close those gaps for reading and math. And then we also started a group called Central Connect for just SEL support, and this was our social workers and psych. They all take a day, and it's just a chance for the kids that want to maybe hang out with some other kids in a social way, but you can't be social. It's been a little bit, some of the same kids come, which is fine. I'd love to have more kids want to be a part of that, just kind of a social drop-in kind of group after school. But so those are some of the things we're offering. As far as the curriculum side, really, if you look at the scores and the conversations we've had for the last 2 years at Central, it's a tier 1 concern. It's a tier 1 conversation we need to have. So we really just keep talking about how we're strengthening that core tier 1 instruction. And by looking at the data, by meeting, I did say PLCs are for plan time. Another thing that the Central Middle School teachers lost was their team plan time, because we had to go from an 8-period day to a 7. So team plan time was a time for us to meet with them, for them to meet with their colleagues, and we lost that. So we are using PLC times to do that now. So it's, we were in the beginning too, but it's picking up a little bit where they have more time to talk about their group of kids, because those same kids, they have to talk about what's working in one group and not in another. So we have some of that going for PLCs. But then what we did was we began this flexible and responsive unit instructional planning. Doesn't that sound fancy? We just kind of made that up. But really what it is, kind of to what Carrie was talking about, planning for your groups. So when you're looking at your data and you have a 5th period and I've got this group of kids in 5th period, what am I doing for those kids? Like I wanted to see for tier 1, what am I doing for those kids during my instruction to meet the needs of those kids? So it was really just shining a brighter light on who's in front of me each period and how I need to adjust my instruction to meet those needs. Because you could have the same plan for all 5 periods you teach, but the needs of all 5 periods are not the same. So really using this unit plan. So we've been using that for a few weeks now. We're going to meet with the grade levels again and just kind of look at how we can tweak some of that. But again, it's just looking at being responsive to who's in front of you and the needs that they have. Yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? No,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you so much for the presentations,
yes.
and we look forward to looking at spring data, coming back, and let's see what we have done at the next reporting. Under administrative procedures, we no longer require to have TB testing as a condition of employment. When we looked at your policy, it was approved last year in January and it was taken out. So these are the administrative procedures that we put together so that then our staff members can now take that off of the form that we require. So you no longer have to provide the required TB testing as a condition of employment.
I apologize. Number 6, employee health insurance
That
update. There
that
is,
will be a discussion for our March meeting.
Yeah,
but
that was nice.
We've started our discussion with policy today
So-
regarding health insurance to make sure that we have a policy aligned with our board policy that really reflects part-time work.
sure. So that will, basically, there's no update on number 6, health insurance at this time.
Right.
Sorry about that. So, and then the TB, so yes, we will no longer, is that what it is? We'll no
Right.
longer need the TB because it's
not required.
not required. Okay. And then number 8,
Is freedom of information from IMRF, and they just asked for our employees that will be retiring at the conclusion of 2020
Excellent. All right.
and 20.
So that request has been fulfilled. And that was in your packet, that was fulfilled. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about anything that we went over this evening so far? We are going to move on to the business office, Mr. Kostecki with the financial report.
All righty. We're more than halfway through the year, and as of right now, things are going rather well. Right now, our revenue levels of 14,200,000 is actually stronger than last year's level at the same time, by about $330,000. As improbable as it seems, the state is actually paying faster than they used to. I don't know if they have to fill up the, check your bills, they may be printing their own. In December and January, they are definitely our lower and slower months in revenue collections because obviously levies, which is the preponderance of our revenue source, is at its lowest peak at this time. It starts to pick up in February. We generally collect about $2 million in February and then $9 million in March. So this is kind of the cycle of a school district. Overall, most of our revenue components are as I was budgeting. And you got to keep in mind when I was budgeting this summer for this school year, there were so many unknowns as what were going to be the impacts of a kind of environment that we're going through right now. Levy wise, we're actually $100,000 stronger than I anticipated at this time because I was a reasonable pessimist as to what was going to be non-collected during this first cycle of the levy collections. But of course, the next bit of collections, that 2 million and 9 million, I've also put in a pessimistic tone to that. But that is going to be the big unknown because that'll be deep into the levy, that'll be deep into COVID. And most of the levy money we collected were per se already prepaid by the homeowner. Now might be a little bit different story. So I'm trying to be a Debbie Downer a little bit, I guess. All right, the next slide has to do with the expense side of the business. Given the fact that we're about 60% through the year, you can see most of the line items are running favorable. Operations is definitely where we spent most of the COVID money, so they're definitely a little bit stronger than your typical patterning. And debt service is loan payments, then that's not an even cycle throughout the year. Right now, our fund balance, the far right column, is at the lowest point. It's right now at about 2.6 months of reserve, which historically speaking, this is the lowest point during the entire year with those two large collections that'll pop rather significantly. As far as PTAB, which is the refunds, that's kind of holding on its own. And overall, our expenses are actually $330,000 less than last year at the same time. So that's.
When do we anticipate that we'll start making payments for Arrow?
I've reserved 100,000. I don't know if it'll actually be by
This year.
June. I don't know when that'll be, but the $100,000 is there for this.
Okay.
Our obligations can be significantly higher now, though, isn't
It
it?
all depends if how the political winds blow.
Well,
They're not gonna pay, so that's gonna fall on us, correct?
It will fall back on us.
Like 40 million across the districts on top of what we already agreed to.
I'm not too sure of the mathematics as to how much they were presuming.
If it was anticipated at 65 million with 25 million, it was anticipated at 50 million with half going to the districts. And if it's at 65 million with it all going to the districts, that would be a plus 40 million.
So that'll be a big,
So that's over 7 schools, 7 school districts?
Well, you'd have to take. that
Oh,
action
11.
If there's that big of a change.
I mean, we have to take legal action and get out of it because it's gonna be plus 40 million because Madigan's not gonna pay 25 million and they're already 15 million over projected budget. So that's not, we're not nickel and diamond. We would be legally on the hook for 40 million divided across the districts.
The architects were given a directive to scale back to the 50 million. And at our next meeting, we should hear more about that. And we will also have a meeting with their business operations so we can see exactly what is expected of the district. And then perhaps we can bring more information to the board. But right now, it's a big question mark as to the matching money.
Well, that's like, yeah, almost an additional, what, 3 million for us?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on, I know there's a,
Secret fund.
there's a
7 years.
formula that, but I
Yeah.
mean, if you spread it equitable across all 11, I know that's not how the formula really works, but wow.
The formula should be on a per student. We were talking about that before. They need to work it where it's not even split across the district.
no, it's not
It's
even
not.
on EAV,
Yeah.
on the student,
No, they have a whole
it was a
formula.
blended formula.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but that's why we need to have a meeting so that we're all on the same page with what was agreed to and what has changed
Yeah.
now.
wow.
They can't move forward without it.
Right, but they
Okay.
did instruct the architects to take, they were 15 million over the 50, and they were given a directive. So at the next meeting, we should have more information. But we will sit down with them for just 124 and look at the implications. We'll try to do that a day that we.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to, I just,
No problem.
No, it's something you need to be.
All right.
Something you need to
Definitely.
know.
Yeah.
That's a big issue out there.
I'm sure we're not alone with that.
All right. All right, are there any
Is
other
there any other
questions?
questions for him?
After that payment comes out, what do you project the fund balance to get back up to? It's 2.6 is less than
I
half
mean,
where we want it.
You know, it's like anything else, we will get probably back up into 6 months worth of supply. And then come June, it'll drop down to 3 again because your collections are going down. And then we have a large payroll in June because we're paying all the summer money for our staff. So right now, our cash fund balance is pretty much even where it was last year. And if this year, and in point of fact, actually is a positive cash flow, you would expect that obviously to start dropping on the bottom line. I've seen a draft of the unofficial, uncompleted audit, and based upon the actuarial, because we run our books on a cash basis, but the auditors then do accruals for bringing revenue or expenses back and forth. And they have us at a break-even operation for last year, which is tremendous, because we've had about 4 years of deficit
Deficit
spend.
spending.
And so that would be one plus in the margin. And then I think this year will probably also be another positive cash flow.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anyone else has any questions for him? All right, thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kostecki. We're going to move on to curriculum and instruction with Mrs. Prado on the update of IAR and ISA state testing and the Evergreen reads.
Just a couple updates, not too much to update on the state assessment. I did listen to a webinar today thinking we would get a little more information, and there wasn't. We did apply, we signed a petition for, hopefully if there is a waiver, Illinois said that if there is a waiver, they will apply for it. No one at the state level in this webinar today was going to comment on that very much, except that they're just waiting to see.
Right.
So in the meantime, just like the state is directing, we're planning for, our window is April 19th through May 7th. So we're working on setting up all the counts in Pearson Access next. The state already started pulling from Pearson already started pulling from SIS to get the students in there. So teachers will have their accounts and we can start doing some of that. The teachers, I always send out just a link of resources. The state does have a nice webpage with lots of resources to previously released items, ways that they can start practicing. They'll have their Pearson account so they can get the kids on to start practicing on that platform on the practice side. So some of those things will start going out. We'll work with the new teachers. I have to train new teachers from this year and last year because we never administered last year. So they all will need training on the new assessment or how to administer the assessment. So that's where we are with IAR. Illinois State, the science assessment, bless you, which is 5th and 8th grade. We have our window. There's absolutely no information coming from the state. There's a webinar on March 8th that hopefully they'll have a little more information, but there's not even anything posted on ISB yet regarding that. And then access, again, as long as, you know, we're assuming we don't have the waiver right now, so we're planning for it. Each building is scheduling that assessment within their building, so they're working on staff that has been trained. Vita did a training for teachers on access on how to administer. So we have a lot more people that can administer in the building. So principals are working on those schedules, but our window is March 15th through May 25th on that. Any questions on any of the assessment pieces right now? We'll see what happens. We'll be ready if we have to give it. And then the next is Evergreen Reads. So we had our third meeting last week. So we have a book selected. Of course, we can't tell you because it's a big reveal. It's a surprise. It'll happen. And we're having a little bit of an issue with the book that we selected as far as getting what we need for that. So, but we have a good theme that'll open up for lots of virtual activities that the kids can do, things that the community will certainly be able to get involved with. So hopefully it'll really be something that'll kind of pick up the community in the spring and we can do a lot of fun activities around it. We'll have the yard signs again. Alex said that he has driven by a house who still has their yard sign.
I still have mine, but it's in the closet, so I will keep it.
You kept yours, you were supposed to return it.
Where?
School. That's okay.
It's all my school.
When is
He
the
doesn't get a new
reveal
one.
happening?
The reveal, it's coming soon.
That is not a
Narrows
date,
it
Mrs.
down.
Prado.
I'm gonna say by next board meeting for sure.
Okay.
By next boarding, we'll have, and then Alex will have the webpage up and out, I think, but it's a really, I think, a fitting.
So are
theme
you
for this
saying,
time.
Mr. Meister knows?
There's a lot of people.
There's other people that know. We could put some
Dr.
pressure.
Woodland even knows, but she's not gonna tell. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and Evergreen Park Library, of course, is involved with it too, so we're looking forward to planning all that. We'll miss our art night. That was always a big thing. The kids loved coming into paint night, but I'm sure our art teachers will think of something.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun last year with yours. Yes. All right. Does anyone have any questions?
No, you keep your sign, just have it ready. You're okay. Just mark that she still has her. Okay.
You're just-
And then at the end, we need to return the sign.
And then yes.
Right to Mr. Alex over
I
there.
know. Outside his window.
He's the guy.
Come on up. She's coming. You
No,
know,
my bad. He was excited.
That's like, go ahead.
Our agenda is flexible this evening.
She's so excited about reporting.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm here to just give you some information on the inner workings of the food service department and answer any questions that you may have. So normally we we usually run under the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program, but we have recently switched to the Summer Food Service Program, which was offered to us in September. And running under this program has been a benefit for us because we get a higher rate of reimbursement. You can see what the reimbursement rates are for breakfast and lunch under the National School Lunch Program and then under the Summer Food Service Program. And with this higher rate of reimbursement has been definitely very helpful right now, considering that some of our costs have gone up due to the pandemic. We've lost some participation because we don't have all the students that we had in person in the past. So that has definitely been very helpful for us. And under this program, we're also receiving some meal planning flexibility, which has been very helpful with planning our menus. The next portion under our government program information is just our average cost per meal. This is just to give you an idea of what we're spending on breakfast and lunch costs. These are higher than they were in the past, and this is just due to a couple different reasons. We are incorporating different or additional paper items. Everything has to be prepackaged that increase the cost, as well as some of our items that we usually purchase with commodity dollars are not available now, so we have to purchase commercially. And then the bottom portion under there just gives you an idea of what we were doing participation wise. Last year, we averaged about 850 meals a day. On a good day, pizza, pancakes, we did about 1,000. And so now we're down to almost like half of that. It has increased a bit since the January 25th. I think it's the end of the third quarter. Since those numbers for in-person have increased, so has our participation, which has been very helpful as well. And then you can see our remote learners. We have very low participation with families coming in to grab those meals, but we're still offering them at all the schools. At all the elementary buildings, we're doing cold lunches, and at the middle school, we're offering hot lunches.
Yeah, because they get free lunches, no matter if they're in person or at home for the rest of the year, right?
That's right. So another benefit of following a government program is there are, is you can see up top under the summer food service, it's everybody falls under the free. It doesn't necessarily say that, but it's $1 amount per student rather than categorically free, reduced, and paid.
Sure.
So initially they had put out that they were only offering free meals across the board until the end of December. So thankfully they extended that to the end of the school year.
Yes.
Which is definitely helpful.
Definitely.
Next
So
slide.
do you think the elementaries, those are the cold meals that they then serve for pickups for the remote learners, right?
They are, yes.
Do you think that's a factor in why they don't come to pick them up? Because it looks like Central offers it hot too.
So we get a lot of the elementary buildings, those students that go to Central to pick up the hot meal.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we
Okay.
still offer it. We can only offer it cold at the elementaries. We're really stretched thin, just with personnel
Oh,
as far
sure.
as with all of the different areas that we're feeding. So we had to stick with cold, but we did offer Central for all the districts. to pick
Also,
up from
any of the
them.
kids from the elementaries that want a hot lunch, the
Mhm.
parents could pick them up there.
Exactly.
Excellent.
We have some community or families that walk to the elementary buildings, so we decided just to keep them open. Even if we get just one,
It's
we're
one
feeding
that they
one
need
family.
it.
So.
Yeah, sure.
So just to give you an idea of some of our challenges that we're facing right now, of course, adapting to all the changes due to the pandemic, having to kind of rethink of how we serve lunch in the buildings, relying on the school staff. Elizabeth, someone that was recognized earlier, she's a big help with us at Southeast, serving in the library. So we're really stretched thin there, and we're really thankful to the schools for providing us with extra support to get the lunches served to the students. Product shortages, as I kind of mentioned before. There's just been hiccups in the supply chain, which has been expected. Our broadline distributor has discontinued some of our items that we normally menu. So we're kind of strapped for variety, which has made menu planning a bit difficult, but we're trying the best that we can to offer the kids variety with things that they're familiar with, things that they like. And then, let's see. And then just our continued service since last March. Not necessarily saying that it's been a bad challenge, it's just definitely been a challenge to continue going since then. Luckily, my staff have stepped up and they've been available to help throughout this this time and through the summer. So we've been able to have continued service since the beginning of the pandemic last year, our last school year. So the pictures, I put those up there just as a fun reminder of what we used to do. Pre-pandemic, we were able to offer a wide variety of different colorful fruits, vegetables, things like that. Syrup that was just our a recent complaint on why we can't offer syrup at the elementaries, but we've got carpet in certain areas, and I think that
They're
maintenance staff.
missing it.
It's painful to them, huh?
They
It
hear
really
about it.
is, yeah, and it's really tough not to be able to serve the things that they really like, but most of the libraries are carpeted and can't serve it in one area and not the other. And then, so our current situation, there is just an idea of what some of our increased costs, we're having to prepackage everything, purchase new carts, purchase new coolers to transport lunches to the different areas in the buildings. And so our positives, as we mentioned, the free meals for all, that's been extended across the board until the end of the school year. Our increased government funding under the summer food service program has definitely been a benefit in helping with cover some of the increased costs that we've endured there. Sustained entitlement funds, so each year, because the government gives us money to spend on commodity foods, commodity dollars are spent on some fresh fruits and vegetables. They're also spent on what used to be called brown box items, but that's just kind of an ugly term for what really is just like canned fruits and or frozen vegetables, things like ground beef, bulk items. And then also pounds, which are converted to things like chicken nuggets and things like that. So my point with that is we get that money based on the number of meals that we serve. And since that number decreased because of last year, they made the decision to work off of 2019-20 numbers. So that has definitely, well, that would be 2018-19 numbers, the previous year when we had a full year. So that's definitely a win for the food service department as far as my budget is concerned. And then the PBT program, it's a government program that they're rolling out. It's to help just additional food assistance for families. More information will be coming out via our weekly newsletter to parents. And what that is it is, from my understanding of it, is it will go to families of remote learning students that are unable to consume meals on school grounds, and they will receive somewhat of like a debit card to spend on food.
No matter where they are, like if they're not free and reduced or whatever.
That's another criteria, is that they have to have been approved for free and reduced.
Gotcha.
So free and reduced students that are remote learners.
That's great though. If we can give our kids, yeah.
So that, we won't administer that, but just want to get information out there that there is more government assistance during these tough times. And then, of course, just to shout out my food service staff.
Yeah.
They're great, and I am very appreciative of them and thankful to their efforts throughout all of this. And I couldn't do my job without them, so.
They are amazing, and we are so grateful for all the hours they put in keeping their kids healthy, fed, and
Even on those days where, no,
yeah,
they're in.
they're in. They are
Yeah.
just literally, yeah, we could not, this district could not live without your department doing such a great job, and we're so committed to our students, so, and it shows, so thank you.
Any questions? No. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can Vita come up now?
You know, we used to have to pull her up here.
Yeah.
Run it up here.
Trying to take everyone else's time.
I'm just so excited to share with you that
Yes.
there are 300 new locations for you to get vaccine.
Oh.
Isn't that great news?
Yes.
Are they here in Illinois?
Because it sure doesn't seem like it.
So we posted on our district website, this website for our families to access, to register for the vaccine. I registered when Alex and Dr. Longo and Dr. Bridges Webb sent this email out to all the staff, and was able to get an appointment like a week later. Got my shot. It didn't hurt. I was scared to death, but I survived it. And they gave me my second appointment at that time.
That's great.
So, yeah. So, I mean, the appointments are really hard to get right now. But the good thing about registering on this site is that it will tell you where you are in the phase. Right now, they're in 1B. and they will send you updates as well. Also, when families register, they give you additional links to those other locations, which are retail locations like Jewel's, Myers, you know, Mariano's,
Walgreens,
yeah, CVS. So I encourage our families to sign up for that. There's a supplemental guidance that came out related to the vaccine. So individuals that have received the vaccine, we need to have an idea of when to quarantine or how to treat individuals with vaccines. And so essentially, we're following the same guidelines. They did provide like a 48-hour grace period after you receive the vaccine. So if you become symptomatic, do you quarantine? And they said, no, we don't really need to. But all the other rules apply across the board. In addition to that, IDPA provided some additional options for school districts in terms of quarantine. Those included the 10-day quarantine for close contacts and a 7-day if you get the PCR, which is the lab-based test. But we're still going with the gold standard, which is 14 days quarantine. So we're not making any changes with that. And then I believe that some of these new travel restrictions have to do with the variations with COVID and our upcoming spring breaks and vacations that are coming up. And so there are travel restrictions that are international. So anyone that's leaving the country, you have to get tested 3 days prior to leaving and 3 days prior to returning to the United States. And for domestic travel, almost every single state is flagged as a high-risk area. And they are recommending, strongly recommending that you complete a PCR test and a 10-day quarantine, but it's not enforceable. So that means that we're not changing our guidelines related to it. So we're not requiring our families to quarantine, but we are recommending that they do that. And then our partnership with Christ Advocate, we have a meeting with them on Thursday to talk about some additional training that we're going to provide to our staff. The mindfulness training was well received, and we're looking to expand that on April 1st. We're going to offer fostering resiliency in students. And then we're also going to talk about partnering to develop some additional procedures and policies related to the pandemic. Any questions?
Rita, you said we're not forcing students to quarantine when they travel?
Right.
It's not enforceable.
Oh,
We're
my daughter
recommending
was
it's
forced
not
to quarantine.
Well, it's not in our guidelines. So IDPH updates their guidelines almost every other week or every week. And they came out with some language in January. It was like right when we came back from break. And it was related to these travel restrictions. And because the language was so strong, it may have been interpreted that we needed to quarantine, but that was not a part of our district guideline.
She was forced to. I had her PCR tested so she could go back to school, but she was told not to come back to school.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Newman?
Changes from day to day.
Change, oh, it's
Yes.
fluid. It's moving at all times. We're chasing a target.
Changing, yeah.
Definitely. All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
We are going to move on to public comments. I only received one, I believe, for public comments, so I am going to read it. The public comment is from Rachel Allmiller. We've been happy in remote learning throughout the year, and in December only felt comfortable choosing remote for our second semester due to the uncertainty of winter and the status of the vaccines. Now in February, the immune-compromised family member in our household has been vaccinated. We are happy to see that Illinois' COVID numbers have decreased, and we believe District 124 has a strong plan to keep students and staff safe. Is there a way for families to revisit the decision of in-person learning for the fourth quarter? Our young children across the community have been so resilient with the tough decisions that families have had to make over this past year. We would greatly appreciate the opportunity to revisit the in-person learning decision for the final quarter of this year. Thank you so much for your comment, and I'm not sure, Dr. Longo or Dr. Webb, are you ready to address this?
We are going to be looking at potentially allowing more kids to return, because we have several kids that parents are reaching out. You know, and several of our principals talked about the social emotional aspects of being in isolation. And so as more people get vaccinated and that type of thing, we will be revisiting that.
All right, so there it is. They are revisiting the idea of allowing maybe fourth quarter for some accommodations for remote learners to return into the classroom. That's great, thank you. At this time, we are going to invite the union co-presidents, Mr. Ann Riley and Ms. Katie Patras. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. We know this is a little overdue, but we want to take just a few moments to thank the superintendents and the school board for putting childcare in place for staff members whose children were remote learning in their own school districts during the holiday weeks. While we know the FFCRA was available to utilize during 2020, it was no longer available after the new year, and the teachers would have had to take a leave of absence to be with their own children whose districts were also remote learning. The childcare that was offered kept the district from losing staff, prevented admin from needing to find more subs, and the students did not lose out on important instructional time with their teachers. It was great that you found a way for the teachers to be here at school while their children were safe and being cared for by the incredible before school and after school team. We would like to give a huge shout out to the before and after school team. This staff has done an amazing job supporting the children academically and emotionally. They built incredible bonds with the children. They helped them to stay focused and complete their work. They're a vital part of our school district, and we appreciate all that they have done to step up and add to the successes of the school year. Norma and Samantha at Northeast, Judy, Stacy, and Celeste at Southwest, Kim and Laura at Northwest, Laura and Sharon at Southeast, Amanda and Susan at CMS. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
So also, as Vita had mentioned, our teachers were happy to participate in a mindfulness session during our in-service in January. So it allowed our teachers opportunities to share their concerns, focus on ways to keep themselves mentally healthy, and we were able to share mindful resources that we can use in and out of the classrooms. One of the counselors has stated that we are the best support for each other, so we just continue to encourage our teachers to reach out to one another, check in with one another, and then ask for help from anyone if it's needed. We'd like to thank our admin team, especially Vita Newman, for setting that up. And we look forward to future mindfulness sessions that are planned for us in the spring. So we also, sorry, I couldn't turn my paper. We are hoping that our district can use our connections with Advocate to secure COVID vaccines in district for some of our teachers and staff. If there's any admin team who can work to make that happen, we are fully confident that it is ours. The problem is the vaccine availability comes and goes so quickly, and teachers just don't have time to stop what they're doing when they're teaching to secure an appointment before they're all gone. So having that ability to obtain the vaccine through the district, as I know some other districts in the area have done, would be incredibly appreciated by many, many of our teachers. And finally, we would like to thank our superintendents for inviting our tech teachers to join the admin team on their visit to Harvey School District. We learned about their STEM and STEAM programs. I was there as well, and it was fascinating. We were able to tour their labs, discuss their coaching programs, and then review their curriculum framework. So it allowed for some really great collaboration, and we look forward to incorporating some of those guidelines into our district's framework as well. And just so in conclusion, our teachers, our staff, our admin, we continue to brainstorm, we continue to pivot, we continue to problem solve issues that arise this year. We continue to communicate, we continue to find compromises and collaborate with one another. We'd like to thank our principals for acknowledging our staff during their data presentations. It really means a lot to hear. So we really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next up is our board reports. Under the district review team meeting report, I believe Mrs. Helen Clemzak, did you attend that?
I did.
Excellent. Why don't you share with us?
So I love that I get to follow Riley, Mrs. Petrus, because it was, it's such a positive experience. So even in the face of the crazy stuff that's going on, right? So it's just, yeah. So there were, Dr. Bridges Webb presented on the calendar questions. There's nothing to be said definitively about it, other than, yes, we know that there are questions. And there were really great things. My notes were rules of thumb moving forward. So our future supers, right, can know this is where, this was how things have been done. This is what we expect. This is how people, this is the thought process that goes into the decision making. So not everybody has to reinvent the wheel every time. And we need to look, past the last 12 months for those rules of thumb, because Lord knows, calendaring in the last 12 months have been a little, dicey. So, so keeping track of past practices, and also that hopefully we'll have a calendar at least started, or the framework in the next month or two from board meeting. I was impressed by the different ways that the different buildings, which we heard from the principals today, that they were offering support for the kids. And I love that it's an opportunity for the different buildings to kind of talk about that. I know there's many other opportunities, but again, as a board member, I just appreciated that the things that were happening at Northeast and Northwest, can we do that in all the buildings? Like, here's something that worked in one place, can we do it somewhere else as well? There was a question that came up about standardized testing. We know that it's logistically difficult and obviously emotionally charged. That's a lot to ask of teachers and students in this time, but we still need to do growth. Like, we still have to test. So there's just so many things to think about when we're doing that. However, Dr. Longo mentioned that if there's no waiver, we can't say no, because then we don't get funding. Hello. So it's not like we can't say no to these things. However, again, I really appreciated how they managed, the different buildings managed to brainstorm about how to support standardized testing strategies that worked for some teachers. There was one example just of 2 screens on a child, or working through testing one-on-one with a para. Like, as we, look at these testing windows, how can we make that work? Since we have to make it work, how can we make it work? So I really appreciated that collaborative, that brainstorming. And then there was a question about laptops for all the teachers, because having 2 screens really makes a difference. And it turns out that it wasn't 2 laptops that were necessary. It was more of 2 screens that were helpful, I think, was the obviously a laptop, but just having 2 screens available. So, and that there might be, it might be easier to either find screens we already have or obtain screens versus laptops. So we might be able to solve that problem sooner rather than later was my take on that. And then there were questions, understandably, around the vaccine and quarantining and the dashboard. So, but all in all, again, I just appreciated everybody that was there and bringing all of their questions and willing collaboration to the tables.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions for Colleen about the DIRT meeting?
That's okay. We've got another one Monday.
Monday?
I can do it.
3:30, isn't it?
We'll flip a coin.
So the
We'll
two of
thumb
you.
wrestle later. Dan,
Excellent.
Mr. Malloy and I will. So we'll figure out who's going to be at that one.
All right. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know I was reading through, there seems like a lot of great.
There were like 9 different topics that came up along different, similar themes, but all just trying to
Questions,
do
but
exactly
clarification,
Yep,
definitely.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're going to move on to the facilities committee report with Mr. Malloy, Mr. O'Connor, and Ms. Fatine.
Those are, I don't know why they added those names in there.
I don't know, they just throw some randoms.
Paper fillers. We met earlier before the meeting today, and Sprado, you'll be happy that topic one was the elevator. It will be working. They got a new motor ordered and we're gonna get bids. We had bids before about replacement. We're gonna get current bids on what it would look like to replace that. And we're also gonna get bids for HVAC at the E-schools, what it's gonna look like. There's some flooring issues at the E-school that we're gonna look and see what we can do in-house and what we'll have to send out for bid. And I mean, there's always a concern about, is there gonna be a lead time on materials? Because everything's been a lot slower. Some roofing issues at the maintenance building that we're gonna have to look to bid out for a roof there. And then, I mean, a few of the restrooms at Central, again, flooring issues that.
Oh my gosh, a couple of those bathrooms need to be done.
You don't need to, I mean, really point it out. I have.
That's where, I mean, they look exactly like from when I graduated.
But they're men's rooms, so I mean, they get
Really,
put
the
lower.
girls one does? No.
No. And then, I mean, the mobile at Southwest, and Scott asked if we could get him more land. More money and more classrooms, and
He
I
wants
reminded him
everything.
that is the tiniest parcel of land.
Yeah.
Tiny little piece.
I mean, I would love to have the wand. Tim wouldn't give me the checkbook because I was gonna write some checks. But we're also, the 10-year life safety is coming up. So we're gonna look into looking at different architects for projects moving forward than Green that we currently have now. There are other options and we want to put out to bid as we want to lay out a future 5-year plan. And Dr. Woodland, when she takes over, she was in there, and these things aren't going to happen overnight. But it has to be looked at the 5-year plan as far as our life safety and what we can use life safety fund money for, and what we're gonna have to pay with working cash.
So you're looking for ways to spend money in facilities.
I am always looking for ways to spend money. Tim tells me no, but I mean, obviously the elevator is getting done. That has to get done. We're out of compliance. The other things are gonna get done. It's a matter of how quickly and who's doing the work.
Sounds like an exciting facilities meeting today.
It was riveting.
It was riveting. Took your breath away?
I mean, Margaret and Leela are always a good cop, bad cop. We know who good cop
You love
is.
it so much I wasn't affected.
All right, does anyone have any questions for the facilities? Are we still moving to remove all carpeting in those classrooms? Are we?
Yeah,
almost-
that's part of the talk too, is there was,
See, I'm reminding you.
well, it's in there.
I didn't hear you mention.
Tell her
Well,
about
it's
the new
low on the
gym.
list. It's not even on the bullet.
Give
point.
me the highlights, the highlights.
That's like,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's tile in Northeast that is the tile that we would like to move forward with as far as the return on our investment as
Gotcha.
not having to, the maintenance is a lot better. So obviously, we want to get carpet out of all the classrooms.
Yes.
There's some carpet that needs to come up much sooner than later. So that's all part of the flooring and what we can do in-house versus what we're gonna have to bid out and what we're gonna be able to get material wise. There's not an abundance of flooring material sitting anywhere.
No, there is not. Mm-mm. All right, sorry, just was curious about that. All right, does anybody else have any questions about facilities? No, all right. So we are going to move on to the policy committee meeting, and I believe Mr. Malloy and Mrs. Kuzak was on that. You've been really busy.
We were also there. Colleen sat that one out at home and phoned a friend.
I was there.
She was there, she was there.
Clear in spirit and on screen.
There we
With
go.
Absolutely. The one we already talked about earlier in the meeting, that 5-30 about the TB testing requirements.
Yep.
That has already come out of our policy, so there was no need to change that. This 5-270 is medical insurance coverage. for non-union employees. That is still going to be up for discussion. There was no decision made on that. That'll be brought to the rest of the board in executive session. And then just the ed tech, the 7-345 about student data for like Power School. How we're gonna harden that policy to really protect the student data.
How so?
We're required by law.
So like, is Power School going to put the,
They'll have to, any data warehousing will have to sign an agreement with us that they don't release student data.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it'll all student data online, well, all their student data will be protected.
yeah, it's interesting, that's interesting,
There's-
okay.
I went to a,
Due to a webinar.
thank you, the word just totally, I did a webinar and they actually sent out an article and I will send it out to everybody to read.
Yeah, because some of these schools now like are doing saliva tests to get their schools back into in-person. And I just know of one in particular that the students have to put their saliva in a thing and then they send it out to a lab. And it's a whole thing about protecting the students' privacy. Like the lab doesn't get the kids' names.
The number.
It's just a number and it's not their student ID number because that would be too identifiable to actually
Arbitrary
to
number.
kind of figure out and, you know, and it's part, I mean, like, who would think that we would be asking kids to spit in a saliva so that we can determine if they are, you know, asymptomatic. Basically, it's asymptomatic, you know, or, you know, that are they definitely are positive, but it certainly will tighten up their privacy and data security, hopefully.
So it's called SOPA.
It's a law.
So
Oh,
it's,
okay.
yeah, so Student Online Personal Protection Act. So everybody's
Wow.
talking about SOPA right now. So I will send you the
Yes, that
SOPA
sounds- thank
Yeah,
you.
July 1st.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's not just us.
Kim, I don't know, did you see
Everybody.
the organizational flow chart?
I did. So I was letting you guys finish about our, so it looks like it's a work in progress still.
It is, this is a rough draft
Yes.
of proposal. I mean, from the top to the bottom, back to the top, all the working parts of the district. And where the roles and how each department lines up, so there's clear direction on who reports to who.
Yep, it looks great. I know that it's a work in progress. I look forward to the final product and being able to then use it next year for, you know, we used to kind of have something like this laid out in our policy book and then also in the like we would give to, like it being part of our handbook. So definitely I don't remember it being as detailed, but yeah, this looks great from what I can see. So thank you, all the people who are working on this. Does anyone have any questions about the organizational chart or any of the policies that are being looked at to be voted on? No? All right, great. At this time, we are going to move into our action items, if that's okay, Dr. Longo, Dr. Wells?
Yes.
We okay?
We're ready.
All right, we're ready. We got some excitement, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now what some of you have been patiently waiting for. Yay. I haven't even seen cell phones out of any of them. My gosh. All right, so we are going to approve the action items or vote on, I should say. On the consent agenda A, which is number 1, to approve the monthly transaction reports for January 2021. Number 2 is to approve the fund balance report for January 2021. Number 3 is to approve the expenditure report and projected payroll report for February 2021. Number 4 is to approve corrected board minutes from the regular meeting of January 15th, 2020. Number 5 is to approve board minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting of January 20th, 2021. Number 6 is to approve the board minutes from the regular meeting of January 20, 2021. Number 7 is to approve the closed minutes session, to approve the closed session minutes from the regular meeting of January 20, 2021. Number 8 is to approve destruction of closed session tapes from November 2016. Personnel recommendations as outlined. We have one additional hire. We have 2 people who have requested a leave of absence. And then we are also C, resignation with intent to retire. Amanda Sullivan, who has been at Central for many years.
Yes.
So very sad to see that is on our agenda for tonight. Yes, happy for her.
Yes.
Much success in her retirement. So do I have somebody to make that motion for consent agenda A, numbers 1 through 9?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And a roll call.
Colleen Clemzak,
Yes.
Catherine Fontaine,
Yes.
Kim Leonard,
Yes.
Kevin O'Connor,
Yes.
Gina Cannon, yes. Daniel Malloy,
Yes.
Claudia Parker, absent. Motion is passed.
All right, and next. And with a big smile behind, I think, everyone's masks. We have been very grateful for the interim, Mrs. Prado, who has stepped up when we really needed somebody these last 2 years. We are grateful for her leadership at Central Middle School, and we are happy to announce we have identified a candidate who is here with us this evening, and it looks like his family. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the Central Middle School principal for the 2021-2022 school year, Mr. Shannon Swilly.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, there we go.
I'll second.
And roll call.
Catherine Fontaine.
Yes.
Daniel Malloy.
Yes.
Kim Leonard,
Yes.
Kevin O'Connor,
Yes.
Gina Cannon, yes. Colleen Clemzak,
Yes.
and Claudia Parker, absent. Motion has passed.
Introduce your family.
And introduce yourself
Yeah.
and family.
Yeah, over here.
Right up here. We got
Want them
seats
to
for
see your
you.
Yep.
Not your back.
Yes.
Oh,
Here we go.
I am very, very excited to be here with you tonight. I am very humbled by the fact that you chose me. I'm excited to learn from Dr. Woodland, excited to meet all the new teachers and serve the families of Evergreen Park. I want to say thank you to Evergreen Park because my children are all teenagers. And when they are teenagers, they have no interest in you. And for whatever reason, they all decided they wanted to come tonight. And I was like, okay. So I got one night. I'm gonna be interested in you. My son is sitting next to me, that's Isaiah. He is 18. He is graduating and going away to college. It makes me sad.
Where is he gonna go? Is he identified a college?
He has identified Howard University. as
Ah,
well.
congratulations.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a
awesome.
swimmer diver.
He's a diver, yes, he does swimming,
Wow.
diving, and that's what he'll be attending
Nice.
school. So like I said, I'm sad but happy for him. So
Yeah.
my wife Jill, we have been married for 20 years. She's a nurse and she works really, really hard. So
She sure
Sure
does.
does.
the glue of the family. That's my daughter Leah. She is 14. She's going to high school next year, which is also a sad concept. And my son Micah, who is 16, he is also in high school. He's a sophomore. Me and the boys, we all have the same haircuts. So
Turn my kid and play.
Yeah.
My kid and play.
yeah, exactly. Like getting played. Yes. I really do. I am just very excited and again humbled, and I cannot wait to get here and start working with the administrative team, with the teachers, and serving the students and the families. So thank you again.
So we have a little gift for you.
I'm sure whatever, yes, thank you so much.
So we are so excited. We have worked really hard to identify you. We are so excited that you are coming on. And thank you for coming. And I know it was kind of a trip, right? Yes. It's quality time with the mom and dad.
And to sit through the board meeting too.
I know. Do you have 2 teenage drivers?
Yeah, well, yes, he will be pretty soon. He's
Pretty
learning,
soon.
and so in just a few months.
My daughter is counting the days down. So she's like, April 4th, Mom, we're there. I'm like, okay, slow down, you know. So yeah, good for you. We do have some cupcakes. At this time, we are going to take a little break so that we can have a few minutes to get some cupcakes and say hello to you. And then we are going to make a motion to recess to close. Why don't we make a recess?
Yeah, we can do
We'll
that
do
now.
that next.
Now
Sorry.
you're thinking.
Now you got the gavel.
All right, so let's make a motion to recess to close session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the district council for the district to determine its validity. Do I have a first
I'll make the motion.
and a second
A second.
and a roll call?
Colleen Clemzak,
Yes.
Catherine Fontaine.
Yes.
Kevin O'Connor.
Yes.
Claudia Parker, absent. Gina Cannon, yes. Kim Leonard.
Yes.
And Daniel Malloy.
Yes.
Motion has passed.
All right, we are back at 9:46 PM and out of recess to close session. Our next item on the agenda is the last action item, which is to make a motion to not approve the resignation request from Christina Cartwright, reading interventionist. Would somebody please make a motion
I'll
to
make that
not
motion.
accept the resignation?
I'll make that motion.
First and a second,
I'll second.
and a roll call?
Gina Cannon, yes. Dan Malloy,
Yes.
Kevin O'Connor,
Yes.
Claudia Parker, absent. Catherine Fontaine. Colleen Clemzak
Yes.
and Kim Leonard.
Yes,
Motion is
has passed. All right, so we are going to adjourn this meeting at 9:47 PM on February 17th. Thank you.